So I heard you want to install a K20 or a K24 engine in your Mr2 Spyder. Am I correct? Well, guess what? You're in the exactly right spot here with this video, because today we're going to break down various important things that you should do to your engine before installing it into any car you are K-swapping, such as how to do your valve clearance, how to install a RRC header, how to install a racing exhaust header as well, and various different steps such as installing a special throttle body, a larger one. So let me walk you through all these steps that I've taken to prepare my engine just before barely putting it into the Mr2. This is the final prep video before the engine is going into the car. So without further ado, join me and let's dive right into it. Okay, welcome back to the warehouse. Look at my engine. It is so dirty. Don't worry, I'll be cleaning it up real soon. Before doing that though, I've been having some leaks through these various gaskets that I'm showing you right now. So I suggest I'll replace them. Oh my god, look at that oil everywhere. Anyway, so I definitely had a leak problem there, so I'm gonna be replacing that. So before that though, let's do the valve adjustment with this tool. This is a really good tool that allows you to adjust the valve clearance. In order to do that, you have to use these feeler gauges that we have here. Let me blend in quickly the specs that are needed, as you can see here. So for the intake, we have 0.25 is the maximum and the exhaust is 0.3. So what does that mean is basically feeler gauges are 0.1 mil thicknesses, and according to that you basically have to make sure that the smaller feeler gauge fits in and the one above your tolerance should not fit in. So if your tolerance is 0.25, for example, like the intake ones, the 0.2 feeler gauge should fit, but the 0.3 one shouldn't. So that's how you set your clearances, basically by loosening the nut, and you turn the screwdriver until your feeler gauge just barely fits in on the smaller side of the tolerance, so that basically you cannot fit the thicker feeler gauge in, and that's how you set your valve clearances. I highly recommend though that you check it one more time once you tightened all your bolts before closing the valve cover. Now that our valves are adjusted, let's remove all the gaskets from the head cover, clean everything, and remove oil and excess grease everywhere we're gonna have the gaskets basically sitting on to avoid basically future leaks. I'll be using Honda Bond as a gasket. So basically here you can see I already applied the liquid gasket everywhere where the workshop manual tells you to. And the next step is basically, so of course, do not forget all the points I'm showing you there, because these are elements and places where it's really important to add extra Honda Bond to avoid leaks. Here you can see, for example, in between the block and the head, and again between the oil pan and the sump basically and the block. So those are all areas you have to put this liquid sealant, and then we're gonna install the cover. And it's important to tighten everything in a regular manner, basically step by step. Don't tighten the corners too much. Tighten each bolt lightly in order to avoid warping the cover. And here you see I'm having a bit of trouble installing the last screw in the aftermarket oil pan. What a surprise. One tends to think aftermarket parts are getting better and better, but I can see that still the fitment is not as good as OEM. Now all you need to do is tighten it to spec and make sure the sealant comes out everywhere on the side, so you're sure that it's sealing up correctly. So here I'm installing the VTEC solenoid, and now I'm installing the head cover that, as you can see, I painted black instead of blue that I did on my 2ZZ. Here also make sure to tighten everything according to spec. You can find all that information in workshop manuals that you can find actually online in PDF form, which is pretty useful. And this is the final result. I'm pretty happy. The black on black is really gonna look very good. I really like how this head cover came out, and I basically shaved off the top part of the Honda logo, so you can see basically the Honda logo is in aluminum, brushed aluminum color, and the rest of the cover is still in this wrinkle kind of black color. In all honesty though, it's true the finishing touches of the cover could be a little bit better, but I am not really building a show car here. It's more of a race car, so as long as the color looks good and it fits with the rest of the car, I'm pretty happy. And for me, the black on black combo really cannot go wrong. Okay, skipping ahead a little bit, I installed the water pump. So it's a brand new original Honda water pump. I remember somebody telling me in the comments that it's not necessary to put a new water pump on these cars. But honestly, in mechanic school, I've always learned that when you're doing a timing belt or something, it's always smart to remove and change the water pump. So that's what I did. So brand new water pump and the whole assembly of the EP3, including the belt tensioner. And I repainted also my crank pulley, which is also torqued to spec. Watch out, that's like 250 Newton meters. So make sure to get that right and don't break anything or hurt yourself when you're doing that. And now there's a key interesting part of the build is to install an original Honda part, which is the intake manifold, the RRC intake manifold. And you are gonna understand very soon why people prefer putting the RBC rather than the RRC, because there is actually an annoying point to this design, and you will see that in a couple of seconds. I present to you the RRC intake manifold. What the heck? That does not fit at all. How in the world am I gonna have my coolant coming out of the head to go into the radiator? Everybody said it was plug and play, this stupid header. How in the world is that gonna work? To be honest, in my head I was thinking, maybe I'll just tighten it, put some Honda bond on it, and it might actually work. And thank God I did not do that. I decided I'm gonna install the exhaust header instead, because I don't know what to do right now, to be honest. But in any case, that PPE exhaust swap header really looks nice. I like the finish of it. It's really a nice piece of kit, so I'm gonna be covering it with some heat thermal bands, and let's see what we're gonna do. So here you see from another angle as well. I also forgot to mention before that I installed a Greddy oil filter, but this does not change the fact that I still need to find a way to install this RRC header that everybody said was plug and play. Maybe the best way is to compare both these headers side by side to see what is the difference. And here you see, by putting the stock gasket and doing a bit of research, I could actually figure out that I just need to cut in pieces my brand new $700 expensive RRC intake manifold. Haha, very funny, but actually that's what's gonna happen. So I'm gonna go get my friend Uncle Angle Grinder, and I'm gonna cut this manifold into pieces, and hopefully it's gonna fit after. In any case, jokes aside, enjoy this footage to see a little bit how these different headers differ and what is the difference. We can see basically that the plenum is much bigger, and here you see that's the stock throttle body. It does not fit on the RRC, so you need an adapter plate to install that. And on top of that, I'm not going to use the stock one. So anyway, let's just trace where I need to snatch this stuff up. And here you see, by using the stock gasket, it's actually a really good example here. So here I made a line, and all I need to do now is cut it to pieces, and boom, this is the final result. I'm actually pretty happy with it because it looks pretty clean, to be honest. But I was pretty nervous cutting a brand new part that costs over 700 bucks. But with an angle grinder is always something that is very entertaining and fun to do. And forgive me if I didn't film it, because I didn't want to film this disaster in case I would mess it up. So in the end, I got it done well. I'm very happy. And here you see I could put the hose back on, and I could also put my new throttle body. Ignore the map sensor. I just put it in there for the moment. That one is going to be plugged onto the throttle body, so don't worry about that. Put all the sensors back in, the various cooling hoses that I'm going to be using, and the idle control. Note that I also reinstalled the stock thermostat housing with a brand new thermostat, and I'm going to be putting back my NOx sensor also in a couple of minutes. I am really liking this black throttle body that I got. It's a billet 70mm one basically, and I'm really looking forward to how that's going to sound once I really step on the throttle when the engine's going to be running. Anyhow, let's put some brand new spark plugs. I'm really liking Greddy parts recently, so I'm going to be using Greddy spark plugs. I'm going to remove the old ones and just pulling them out because my tool doesn't have the magnet on it anymore. So now I'm installing the new plugs, putting also the coils back in as well. I'm going to tighten everything up, and that's where I ran into the next problem. The stock EP3 fuel rail doesn't fit, so I had to drill out the holes, and of course I could fix that quickly, but once again the plug and play RRC manifold did not fit. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's reinstall the alternator. I put back the engine mount, and this is what it looks like once everything's back on. I'm really liking this. The engine is starting to look like an engine. I re-put the original fuel rail in, so I just had to basically make the holes a bit wider, but that turned out working as well, and this is how it looks. All right, it's wiring time. So here you can see the full engine harness, and on the plug there we have the charge harness with the red pole basically for the battery. And here you see this is the loom going to the ECU. So let's prepare that and install it on the engine. Basically the easiest way to go forward with this kind of thing is you start by one end and start plugging in everything step by step and just go follow the lines until you have the whole thing plugged in. It's pretty easy, to be honest, and especially when the loom is in good condition. So here you see, like in 5 minutes everything was back plugged in, and there we go. So here we see the charge harness on this side, and on the other side you see the engine harness that will go through the firewall into the ECU plugs. Almost fell on the floor there, but anyway. So you can see everything's plugged in here, including the RPM sensor for the crank sensor and all the other sensors as well, the coils. And now I felt was the right moment to wrap my exhaust with heat shielding. I really liked how these carbon Kevlar straps would basically work their magic. I could honestly, on my 2ZZ engine, I could literally race the car and I could touch with my hand the exhaust and I wouldn't burn myself. Whereas if you would even just get near to a raw header without one of these straps, you would get burned instantaneously. So this is maybe not the best way of doing it, but I like actually basically starting by one tube, go all the way down, and then go back up on the second one that is where it merges in basically. and that's actually a pretty efficient way to keep things tight and also waste as little strap as possible, because they're pretty expensive, to be honest. So it's a bit tedious. You need to hold everything, tighten it really well, but with a little bit of elbow grease, it's honestly pretty doable for anybody. Make sure to put the metallic straps at each end to make sure it holds correctly. And once you do that, tighten it well, and this is how it will look. I purposefully did not go all the way down with the straps yet, because the subframe is going to be going through there, and I still plan on welding a bung into the collector there where all the 4 elements merge together, so I can put an exhaust temperature sensor and also an AFR sensor. Now let's finally install the accessory belt. Here you can see with a 14mm socket you can relieve the tension of the belt. Make sure that the belt follows this way of going through, and once you let go of the tensioner, it will automatically put tension on your belt. Okay, we're back in the office. Thank you so much for watching this week's video as well. I am super hyped and stoked because the engine is ready to go in. I've done all the major parts of the engine prep work. Now the next week's video is really going to be the physical insertion of the engine into the car. So make sure not to miss that one. In order to stay up to date and see all our videos and not miss a single episode, make sure to subscribe. If you like this kind of content, make sure to like it. And God forbid, if you could actually share this video, this would help tremendously to get my videos out there. And I will see you in the next one, and it's going to be a good one. So stay tuned. See you next week. Peace.